G'day everyone, Spud here from Spud's Games. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's video, we're going to be building a retro 486 PC, the bee's knees. Let's go. So before we jump straight into the video, first up, just a quick apology. I haven't made a video in a little while. There's been a few medical things with the family and whatnot, and I just haven't had time to make any videos. Doesn't mean I haven't been doing stuff, I just haven't had time to make a video. So today I thought, you know, coming into Christmas, I'm gonna have a little bit more time on my hands with holidays and whatnot. So I might get into making some more videos, and I thought, you know what, with this big PC haul that I picked up recently, what a better way to kick it off than we'll go through it quickly and then we'll pick out some parts and we'll build a retro 486 PC. So just a quick update on the bundle that I picked up. Cost me $3 It was a couple of weeks ago now. It's probably actually nearly a month ago now. I have managed to offload a lot of the stuff, or not a lot of it, actually there's still a lot of it out there. But I have offloaded a few things and I've got my money back, so it's all just whatever's left out there now. It's just me putting back together, building up, keeping whatever I need to do with it. But we have plenty of parts still left over, plenty of good parts. I'm not 100% sure of everything that I've got out there, so I'm just going to quickly go through it with you. We'll pick out some parts, we'll pick out a case, a motherboard, video card, RAM, whatever we need, and we'll build up a nice 486 PC. So let's jump out into the garage where everything is. We'll quickly do a quick run through of the stuff that we picked up, and then we'll go through and pick some parts out. So here we are out in the garage. As you can see, the garage is completely chockers full of old computer parts. This was someone's collection, which I picked up, but you can see there's a lot of good cases there. One I'm really looking forward to doing is a Windows 98 one with this Live 2 card in there and the Creative. There is a box for it here somewhere. Just not sure where I put it. It's here somewhere, but it has the box, the remote, and everything else in it. I actually think I've got two remotes, to tell you the truth. Actually, that could be it right there. Let's take a look. Oh no, that's just an empty box, that one. But there is definitely a box here somewhere. I just don't know where I've put it. We've got a heap of motherboards coming up over here. Got video cards. We got everything. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the camera down, and I am going to go through these, and we're going to pick out some parts. I'm not going to go through it with you guys and show you every single motherboard that I've got, every single video card, because there's literally hundreds. So I have kind of tried to start sorting these, but anyway, they're a bit all over the shop. So let me go through it, we'll pick out some parts, and then we'll go from there. Righto, so I think I've picked the motherboard that we need, or we want. So this is a VLI 486 SV2 GX4. It's a VLB motherboard. I'll just move it out into the light here so we can see it. So here it is here. It's got a CPU already in it. I'm hoping that's a 486 CPU. Yeah, it's got some RAM already there, so hopefully this is already pretty much set, ready to go. I'll have to check what CPU's in there. Hopefully it's a 266, because that's what I want to build. The battery looks kind of new there, so hopefully someone's already tested this and it works okay. I hear these are pretty sought after motherboards, but yeah, we'll give it a crack and we'll see how we go for a motherboard. So next up, what we've got is we're going to need a video card and an I/O card. So I've dug these out of these bundles here, these piles. Let's move these out into the sun. We've got a fairly stock sort of standard, you know, I/O controller there. Well, it's a built-in I/O, as well as IDE there. So we're going to need that because the motherboard doesn't have onboard IDE. And then underneath that, let me just put this down on the old golf bag. We've got this Tseng Labs. Move it out in the sun here a little bit. Tseng Labs ET4000W32P. It's a Hercules version of it, and what is it? A VL Pro. So it looks like it's 2 MB, which is pretty much a maxed out VLB card. So we'll use that. Hopefully it works, and we'll see how it goes. Okay, so for the hard drive, I'm actually going to use this little unit here, which is a compact flash, single-sided to IDE, rather than use them old mechanical IDE hard drives. I think this might be a better option if I can get it working. Hopefully the BIOS has an auto detect in there, because using these can be a bit of a nightmare from my experience. If you don't have an auto detect hard drive BIOS, trying to find the heads of the cylinders and whatnot suitable for that compact flash card can be quite difficult. So it does have a little broken piece there on the end, but hopefully that's not going to be too much of an issue. We'll throw this in the box and we'll move on to the next thing. Okay, for sound cards, I think they're in one of these boxes here. Let me just unstack these. I'll go through it and we'll pick one out. Righto, so I've got the sound cards. I've made a little bag up here, went through and sorted them a little bit. We've got the all-32s and 64s. There's I don't know, there's probably a good 50 odd sound cards in here, Easter sound cards, but I'm going to grab an all-64, and there is a good reason for that. There's some stuff over in that pile over there, I'll show you in a minute, which I'm going to use. And doing a bit of research, these all-64s are really good for what I want to do with it. Okay, so one of the reasons why I wanted the all-64 is because of this box here. This box has got a bunch of Midi modules in it. So let's have a quick look. We've got a Yamaha XG MU50, a nice unit there. I'll put that down. We've also got, let me zoom back out, we've got a Sound Canvas 88 VL there. Those both are just general Midis. I'm not sure what that is there. That's another audio canvas something or other. Not sure what that is, never seen that one before. And then we've also got this MT-32. So those old DOS games would know exactly what this is. A lot of old DOS games use this Roland MT-32 as the MIDI device. A lot of the old DOS games were programmed using this device, and it puts out a really nice sound. I'm not going to go too much into the history of it. You can always Google Roland MT-32. But if you know the sound selections in some of those DOS games, this unit is actually selectable. So I'll grab this, and I'll grab one of the general MIDI units because they're different. So the MT-32, although it is a type of MIDI unit, it actually doesn't do general MIDI. It only does its own type of MIDI. So I'm going to need this and a general MIDI for the games that do general MIDI only, not just the Roland MT-32. So I'll grab two of these, take them inside, and then we'll keep going. Just back over here, I'll grab these speakers out. These are a Roland SC something or M something or other. What are they? MA12Cs, yeah. So going to grab the pair of speakers here and use them as my main monitor speakers. Okay, so next on the cases, there is one here, this one here. I really like the look of this one. Has that old feeling, that old 486 type feeling. The case itself is in really good condition. No rust, a couple of spots, like marks on it here and there, but nothing that's too bad. The other one I'll look at as well, I might grab both out and compare them, is the one down here. This one down here looks pretty decent as well. So I kind of want one with the display on it. This one here looks like it's missing a door. So there's a door supposed to latch into here, swing across. So probably won't use that one. The one down there doesn't look like it has a display. No, that one there has a display, but it's pretty yellow. So probably don't want to use that. And yeah, that's pretty much the only options we've got. I do have one over here as well. That's quite a nice case, but it doesn't have the display on it. So I think we'll go back to using this one here. We'll grab that and we'll go inside. So one of the first things I do before I start putting any components into any cases, particularly for the 486, is check the case, check the power supply, make sure all that works. So, and particularly with the 486s with these LCD fronts on them, making sure those numbers are set correctly. So what I want this to show is 66 when the turbo button is pushed in, and when it's pushed out, I want it to show 33. So let's just turn it on and see what it shows. Oh, I've already plugged it in the back there. So if we've got at the moment, it doesn't look like it switches anything, and we've got portions of what looks to be a 66 there. So that could be a problem with the LCD, or it could be just a problem of missing jumpers on the back of that LCD panel. So we'll open this case up, we'll check out the LED panel and see what's there, and then we'll make the changes as we need to, or if I have to change the LED panel out, then I'll change the LED panel out. Right, so I've checked the LED panel on the front. We had that issue before where it wasn't showing 6633. This is the old one. I couldn't get it to work properly. It's a fairly common one used in Australia. I think this is a, what is it, a GK502. But yeah, and the weird thing is, it's 6 pins at the top, where most of the ones I've been seeing before are 5 pins, 3 switch pins and 2 power pins, positive and negative. But we've replaced it with another very common one, which was the ST5B, I think it is. Yeah, that's it there. And this is the one I'm more familiar with, which is the 5-pin one. You've got positive and negative here underneath. I'll move that one out of the way. And then you've got orange, black and white. So one thing you want to do, or want to look out for with these LED panels, is you'll see this switch here. There's actually, it goes white, black and orange at the top, and then you'll see the 3 heat shrunk cables underneath. It's actually a double pole switch. One of the sets of wires comes over, this loop comes over into the switch behind the LED panel. That's what tells us to switch from 33 to 66. And then the other set will feed down, which are these long sets. This long set here, I think it's this one, no, it might be this one here, this one here. This will feed down to the motherboard turbo switch. So that's why there's cables on the top there, and there's cables on the bottom. Now the one I actually pulled off didn't have the cables on the bottom, had the pins there but no cables, so it wasn't going to switch anyway. Okay, so put it all back together just to show you guys that it's now working as intended. I'll just turn this on. You'll see the buttons out at the moment, and it's showing 33. If I hit turbo, we now show 66. So I think I'm happy with the case. The case is where I need it to be. Power supply is working. Everything else seems to be good. Move on to the motherboard. Okay, so here we've now got the motherboard. I can confirm that this is a 486. If I just pop the cover off the top here, you'll see it's a 486DX266. I'll pop that back on. So it's got the CPU that I want inside. It's got, I think, looking at this, 32 megabytes of RAM already in there. There's 2 ESA slots. One thing that we will have to double check, and I'll pull up the manual, are these jumpers over here. Well, mainly over here. There's a couple up here as well, and down here. I need to go back to the manual and check that they're suitable for a 486 266 or set for a 266. I'm assuming they are, because that's the CPU that was in there. What I'll end up doing is I'll end up powering this up as is on here. I've got this motherboard sitting on these standoffs that you would normally have inside the case, and then on a rubber mat. That just gives me enough clearance here so I can put video cards and stuff to test here before I actually put it inside. So let's go and double check those jumpers with the manual, and then once we do that, we'll put a video card in and see if she boots up. But yeah, checked all those jumpers, they're all set now. We'll put a video card in and see how we go. Righto, so I plugged the fan in, power supply is plugged in. Just be careful when you're dealing with these old AT power supplies. Those terminals, once you plug it in, turn it on. Actually, I'm not even sure if you have to turn it on, but you'll have 240 volt at those terminals, so that's why it's covered in heat shrink. But yeah, the Hercules card's in, the monitor's on. Let's give it a crack. Oh, the fan on the old power supply is a bit noisy. See if we can get a picture come up. There we go. Give it a second there. So it definitely boots up. Let's get up here out of the chair. Got CPU D486 DX2 CPU at 66 megahertz, 37 megabyte of RAM. There we go. So hard disk fail, floppy fail. Haven't got a floppy disk plugged in either, and keyboard error. So we'll get all them plugged in, and then we'll see how we go. Okay, so we've now got the I/O card plugged in. We've got the floppy plugged in. We've got the compact flash plugged in. And this will be the last thing I do out on the bench before I do it, because it's going to be precarious having all these loose cables and stuff hanging around and stuff not secured properly. So what I'll do is I'll fire this up. We'll jump into the BIOS and see if I can auto detect that compact flash card and make sure everything else registers okay. So I'll just turn that on. The Gotek's come on, it's good. So I'll just jump into BIOS, hit delete. We'll go to IDD auto detect. So it's picked up that, yeah, there's a 2 gig hard drive there. So I'll put yes. The other ones I won't detect. That's good that it's done that straight away. Sometimes you can have a nightmare trying to get stuff to auto detect these compact flash cards. So I'll just skip through the rest of it. Okay, see if how old this battery is. November 18, so whoever's put that in there before, that can't be that old, that battery. So all in all, we've got booting, we've got, well, let's just jump out of this. Actually, what I'll do, drive B, we haven't got a drive B there at the moment, that'll keep throwing up an error. So I'll change that, and then we'll change the boot to A drive and just see if it'll boot into DOS, because on my little Gotek here, and if I just turn that, you'll see I've got disk 1 of MS-DOS in there. So I'm just going to change up here, AC, boot to A, go save and exit, and if this does it, I'll fix the camera back on the tripod and we'll step through the DOS setup. So we'll just let it go through. It's got to this next stage, which is good. That means it's recognized the hard drive. No errors. Hopefully this should say starting MS-DOS in a minute. I can see the floppy lights on the Gotek. The old fan in the power supply sounds like it's struggling. But it has locked up at that point. Oh, no, starting MS-DOS. So one thing that I have noticed, and why that was so slow, is down here. I actually don't have a turbo switch enabled on the keyboard. So this is actually running like it would if turbo wasn't on. So cut down the front side bus to 33 megahertz. So it does boot into DOS. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take all this apart now, put it in a case, and then to install MS-DOS and whatnot, we'll do it from the case, just so I don't risk shorting anything out here. Righto, so we've got all this together. We had a bit of an issue putting this together, and this happened to me plenty of times before. I had everything in together. It does look a bit messy in there, but oh well. Everything together, looking good, feeling happy. Turn it on, got nothing. It'd power up, but actually nothing would come up on the screen. So I thought, okay, right, sometimes the video cards don't quite sit right. Sometimes the I/O cards don't sit right. Sometimes you need to bend it like this last person has done before, and I've just tried to straighten it out. Actually, this one here, you can see there. So yeah, tried a few different things, could not get it to boot. So anyway, pulled it out, pulled the motherboard out, started from scratch again with the old noisy power supply that I was using to test, and sure enough, it all booted back up again. So I quickly concluded it probably the power supply. So lucky for me, I picked up 50 computers the other day in that bundle, and I had plenty of spare power supplies. So quick change of power supplies, and we hopefully should now get everything running. This is what the front looks like. I've just put the Gotek in the front here instead of the floppy, just to make life easier for me when I'm trying to boot everything up. Let me just zoom, see if I can zoom in there. There. So I've got the CD ROM, I've got the B drive, I've got the floppy and whatnot. So we'll just turn this on. So there it is. So you got the turbo light on, the CD ROM light on. Now I did set this to floppy seek just to make sure that everything would work. So that's B drive seeking. Okay, we've definitely got stuff on the screen. So it's coming over there. This should boot into MS-DOS because I've got that on my Gotek there. It's booting into MS-DOS. So what I might do is, now that we know all this works, it's looking good. Got the 66 there. If I turn the turbo off, goes back to 33, no issues there. Leave it on turbo. And what I'll do is I'll pop the cover back on. I might even fill these brackets here, pop the cover back on, and everything else is going to be external now. So we'll install DOS, we'll install some drivers, show you how I do everything, and yeah, we'll go from there. Rightio, let's turn this on. We'll run through how I set up DOS. So at the moment I've got it booting to A drive, which is the GoTech. I've got disk 1 in for MS-DOS. So let it do its thing. We're in turbo mode this time, so it should be a bit quicker. Now one thing to note is if you, and I might just hit reset here and show you this. Okay, delete, we'll jump into the BIOS. One thing you want to do, if you're above 500 megabyte, you need to change this here, over here, to LBA, the hard drive. So it says there user, that top line over on the right hand side, it says LBA. So you want to make sure that's on LBA, otherwise the DOS install, or actually F-disk, is actually going to see 500 megabyte of your 2 gigabyte hard drive. So if your motherboard supports it, make sure you've got LBA mode on before you do an F-disk, which we'll do up in here next. So let's jump out of that. Yes, boot. Once we get into here, and it's the same with Windows 98. I'll do a Windows 98 install maybe next. I'll show you how to do it from there, but we're actually going to exit out of this installation by pressing F3. Again, which will put us into A drive, and we're just going to type F-disk. Okay. Runs a small program here, and this is where we can partition. So at the moment, if I wanted to display the active partition information, you'll see there it says non-DOS, 2004 megabytes available. Now, if I hadn't had that LBA mode on, that would only show about 500. So because we have LBA mode on, then that's what it shows, the full 2 gigabytes. So we're just going to delete that. Let's get 3. It was a non-DOS partition, so that's 4. It is partition 1. Do I wish to continue? Yes, and that will disappear. Let's jump back in. We now want to create the main DOS partition, so that's number 1. We want to create a primary DOS partition, number 1 again. It'll ask, do you want to use the maximum? This is where you can, if you have multiple partitions you want to make, then you can do it here. Otherwise, I'm just going to make the whole 2 gigabyte compact flash card the partition. Yes. And then it'll ask me to reset. So I'll just F3 out of that again. Jump into F-disk again. And then we just want to display the information this time. So you can see there now we've got one partition, which is a C drive, status A, which is active, and it's a primary DOS partition of the full 2000 megabyte or 2 gigabyte. So we're good to go. So I'm just going to jump out of this, which will take me back to the A drive prompt there. And if I just type setup, it'll throw me back into the MS-DOS install. Just make sure you've got disk 1 in. And what it will do, the next step will be it'll ask me to format that. So if I just hit enter there, format this drive. Hopefully this is pretty quick, otherwise we'll jump forward, but being compact flash it should be. Oh, no, it's going to be quite slow. I'm not sure why it's so slow, but anyway, what I'll do is wait till this gets to 100% and then I'll come back. Okay, now it's finished formatting. Just verify I don't change anything here. The country, United States, probably could change it if I wanted to. The keyboard layout, United States. DOS is going to be installed, C drive DOS, straightforward. And now the install starts. So there's 3 disks to get through. It prompts you at when to change the disks, obviously. So we'll go through and install it, and once that's done, we'll come back. So now let's talk about a little bit of installation of the Midi devices, how we're going to do this. So a bit of a demonstration here. Obviously you've got the ALL64 installed in the computer, but you're going to need, if you're going to do this setup, you're going to need a couple of things. One is this joystick or DB15 connector to Midi. So it has, let's pull this apart. It has joystick, plugs into your sound card, and it doubles up as well. So if you do want to use a joystick in conjunction with using the MIDI as well, then it doubles up. You plug your joystick into this, you plug this into your sound card. And then at the other end, I've got these MIDI connections. Now these are female in the back of the units as well. So obviously that doesn't work, so I bought male to male. We'll just plug that in there. And you've got to make sure you get the right way these cables go around. So it's essentially MIDI out to MIDI in. And I think that's the right way around. Hang on, MIDI out. And then I think I've got to go MIDI in to this one. Anyway, we'll see if that works. So yeah, we've got a little bit of cable there. So now this will plug into the MT-32, in the back of the MT-32, into the MIDI in of the MT-32. Now to get that used in conjunction with the SC-88, so we don't even have to have too much switching. If I can find another one here, which I've got here. So on the back of the MT-32, which I will try and show you here, move that over there, you will see there is one here called through. Now, so the MIDI from the joystick port comes to the MIDI in. I think I pointed to the right one. No, that's MIDI out. It would come to the MIDI in. Now we don't go MIDI out and loop up to the other one. We go through. So that's the pass through. So in and then pass through. We come up to from pass through on the MT-32. We come up to the MIDI in on the SC-88. So I'll bring the camera down once I do this. So I'll just plug this in here, plug this in here. Okay, and then we've got our joystick cable. Where did I put that? That's here with our MIDI in. Okay, so then I'll plug that into the sound card. That way, Chris. Okay, so there we go. So straight out of here, and then if I hold up this here, like this, you'll see from the joystick on that card to the MIDI in, and then we're passing through here up to this unit. So what we're going to do, because, and I might get the camera down for this, so let me get the camera down and I'll explain to you how we're going to do the switching as well. Okay, so this is how we're going to set it up here. We've got the SC-88 on top here, the MT-32 underneath. On top of that, we're going to have this switch box. So 1, which will be MT-32, and 4, which will be the SC-88. Have a bit of a gap between them. I should label these, but what's going to happen is the outputs of the MT-32 will come up and into input 1 here, and the output of the SC-88 will come up to input 4 on the back of this. It's just a 4-way AV switch. You can see there. So this one comes from the MT-32 out, and this one comes from the SC-88 out. Okay, and then the switched side of it, so the output side of it, needs to go back. Now this can go directly into speakers if you wanted to, but what's going to happen is you're only going to get music. MIDI's music only, it's not sound effects. So at some point you've got to mix these with the sound effects that come out of your card. And to do that, we feed that output from the AV switch back into our sound card. So that's the line in on our sound card. Now on the OR64 you do have to go and set that and make sure that's turned on, and I'll show you how to do that. Okay, and once that's done into there, then either we can use our speaker out if you're just using passive speakers, or if you're using powered speakers, you want to use your line out, which will give you a cleaner, or should give you a cleaner signal, which is the second one, and that will go to your powered speakers such as the Rolands. So that's pretty much how we're going to set it up. The reason why I've got the switch in there is because what will happen with pass-through, so for this to actually get the MIDI pass-through from the MT-32, the MT-32 is going to be on. And when I select General MIDI, this MT-32 is going to try and play it. Not very well, because it's not designed for General MIDI, it's designed for its own MIDI. But it will attempt to play it. And you can see a little flashing light here when it says it's trying to play it, but it won't sound very good. But we need that on. So while that's trying to play it, we don't want to hear it. We want to hear this one. So what we do is we select up here, make sure we're on this one, so which is AV4, and then what gets fed back here will only be, this one might be on and playing it, trying to play it, but we're only going to hear sound back to the sound card through this because we'll be on that particular switch. So that's the reason for the AV switch. And yeah, it goes back into here and then line in and then line out to your speakers. So that's the joystick connector, or the Midi connector as we call it. And obviously we've got the joystick at the other end if you want to plug joysticks in. So I'll get this all set up now on the bench. I'll show you how to install the SoftMPU software and then we'll give it a test. Okay, so now we've got everything set up. So I'll just quickly show you guys what we got there. I couldn't get the Cherry keyboard to work, so I'm just using my Model M keyboard. I've got the tower over there, that's all together. Down the bottom there, you'll see we've got our switch. We've also got our MT-32 down the bottom there. And then we've got this nice Samsung SyncMaster there set up, and we've got our Roland speakers there as well. So I'm pretty happy with this setup. Well, we've also got the joystick and the mouse, but pretty happy with this setup. What we're going to do is we've got DOS loaded there, bare bones, nothing in there. We're going to go through and load all the drivers. I'll show you how to do this the way that I normally do it. There is a bit of experimenting here, and there's a way that I do it so that the memory there's enough conventional memory free to run games like X-Wing and Dune 2 with all the sound and music as well. So we'll get into it. We'll start loading some drivers. We'll go through each one. We'll load a CD driver. We'll load mouse driver. Then we'll load probably the OR64 drivers. And then we'll load SoftMPU. And then we'll do a bit of juggling around, and hopefully we'll have enough memory to get all those games running. So first up, we're going to load our CD ROM driver. Now this is an ASUS CD ROM driver, and it's very light on. It takes up little to no memory whatsoever. Some of the other CD-ROM drivers out there can chew up quite a bit of conventional memory, but this one is the thinnest of the lot of them, and that's what we want when we're trying to save as much memory as we can. So we'll go ahead and load it. Now, bump the camera. Now, unfortunately, this doesn't have an install package, so we have to do this manually, the old-fashioned way. So I've got it in my A drive at the moment, so I'm just going to copy A drive, and don't worry, I'll put the links in the comments where I get this from, to C drive, and you'll see it'll copy a few files over. Now that VIDE, okay, so I do have a couple of versions on this, but that's good. The VIDE-CDD CD is what we're after. Now what we need to do is we need to go into our config file. So we just got it, edit config.sys. See, there's nothing there at the moment. What I'll do is I'll throw it in here, and we'll just go capitals device equals C drive. I just threw it straight in the root. I didn't throw it into DOS, which was VIDE-CDD.sys, and then we have to put a couple of little things after it, space / D drive, and we'll call it MSCD001. That's the name of the drive. So we'll just save that. Save, I think that looks right. VIDE-CD, yep, that looks good. So we'll exit out of that. And now we have to throw something into our auto exec bat file, cc.bat. And we need to throw in the line, where is it? Low. So we'll just go, I'll put load high. C drive / so we're going to do CDEX, so DOS MSCDEX .exe, and then we'll make sure we match up to what we had in the other one. MSCD001. And I think that's all we have to do. Hit save, exit that, and we're going to hit reset, and hopefully this works. Oh, I must have it still booting from A drive, so I'll just unplug the USB stick. So there we go. So it's found a CD ROM driver, and to test that I should be able to put D drive there, and I will go and grab a CD quickly. I just grabbed Hexen, and we'll just open up our CD ROM drive. Give it a moment to read. And I'll just hit the directory of that CD ROM drive. Oh, retry. Hasn't finished yet. Here we go. It's now reading it, so that's good. Our CD ROM driver now works. So what we're going to do is, when I was talking about memory before, what I was talking about memory before was, we just go back to C drive, and if I put M/C/P down the bottom there, this is what we're after. So I'll just point to it here. What we want is this free memory here as much as we can. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to run memmaker and see how much that gives me. Let me just do that now. We'll continue. Express setup. We'll put yes there, because later on we'll be using it. So we'll let memmaker do its thing, and then we'll come back and we'll show. Have a look at the difference. Okay, memmaker's done its thing. Let's just type in that command again. Okay, so you'll see over here in our free section, 629. That's what we want. It was previously down in the 500s. It's juggled a few things around and freed up that 629. Ideally, by the time we're finished here, we want to keep that on or above 600. So that's good. What we'll do is we'll go and load our mouse driver now. So the mouse driver is very easy. It's just something I use called Qt Mouse or CT Mouse. Very, very small. It doesn't chew up much memory at all. I think it's about 3 kilobytes. So I've popped the file into the USB, or on the USB stick into the GoTech. So we'll just copy A drive to C drive, just throwing it directly into the root. Okay, so there's CT Mouse, that executable there. Now what we'll need is we'll need to edit our auto exec bat file again, and we'll add C drive tmouse.exe. Save that, exit that, and now we'll hit reset, and hopefully we will have a mouse driver. Oh, I've really got to change that. Here's our CD-ROM driver, and you'll see down the bottom there, Qt Mouse version 2.0 installed at COM1. So that means I now have a mouse driver. And just for those who didn't believe me about the mouse driver, there's me mouse there. So we definitely know the mouse driver works. So to load the sound drivers, we're going to have to load 2 files because it's an AW64, which is a plug and play. We're going to have to load SBB Basic, it's called, and CTCM. So there's two portions to this. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to create a directory called creative, Oh, not create, I want to make directory creative. Change directory to creative. Okay, make directory called, one called SBB basic and one called CTCM. Okay, so I know I've got the disk CTCM in there first, so what I'm going to do is copy A drive to C drive creative CTCM. How you structure your file system, that's up to you. I'll just switch over to the other one, which is SBB basic, which is the actual software install. So I just switched over there on the floppy on the GoTech. So we want to copy A drive to this time C drive creative SBB basic. Okay, so that's done. So I'm just going to CTCM 50C CM, and then it was called CTMBBS1, I think the file was called. So there we are, it's just extracting that. Okay, so now we want to go to the other one and extract that. And then we want to install from this one. Once this is extracted, so we just use the install, which will run the install package. So now it's enter to install the software. It will ask which folder did I install CTCM to up here. So I will have to change that. So it's looking for that CTCM in this SBB or SB basic folder, but I actually created it and put it into CTCM. So we'll change it to that. That's fine. There's no Windows on here. So now I'll just go through and install. It does take a little bit this to install, even though it's running off a compact flash card. It still does take a little while to install. It does do all the updates of the auto-exec bat file, which is good. You don't have to go through and manually add all this. Okay, let's keep going, cycling through. So there's the settings. Most important one there to remember is the Midi port 330. That's default. It's all default 225.15. That's all fairly standard. Some games do run on IRQ7 or need IRQ7. I think there's one or two that even need IRQ9, but you can manually go and change that later on. I wouldn't change it here for any. Just leave it as default. Otherwise, yeah, I found it can cause some issues. So. Let's go through. There shouldn't be too much longer to go. It's a fairly big driver package, this. It should be nearly at the end. It does copy over the Windows stuff as well, even though I haven't got Windows installed, which is probably takes longer than what I needed to, but there we go. It's updated the config.sys file and also the auto exec bat file. So what I'll do is I'll enter. It'll ask me to reboot in a second. So now it's adding the lines to it. It was just confirming the lines it was going to add before. Now, I'll be honest, I don't know what half of this means, but I haven't had an issue with it in the past. So I'm just going to reboot by pressing F10. And then we should get a whole heap of files running on the auto exec bat when we boot back into DOS. So there we go. Sometimes you can actually hear the sound click in as well with the speakers. Couldn't really hear it then. The main thing we're looking for is there's no errors, which is good. We can test this works by going into the folder it created, SB16, and then running diagnose. So this is the diagnose, just runs you through and just confirms all the settings. So there is RAM on this, on the OR64. Testing the Midi port. The main thing we want to do is test the sound. Okay, so we're just going to test the 8-bit. So I don't know if you guys can hear that because I've got the microphone turned around facing me, but that worked. That one worked. That one worked. And that one worked. So the card's working. F10 update it. Enter. C drive. There is no Windows, hit escape, F3 quit. So I'll just reboot the computer. Probably didn't have to do that, but doesn't hurt. So there's our sound drivers. There is one thing we have to do with our sound driver, so it's compatible with our Midi devices, and I'll show you that now. So we just have to jump into our Sound Blaster 16 directory and run a executable called mixer set. Okay, what we need to do is we need to make sure our line left and right are ticked. We can get rid of these ones up here. They don't really do anything. Okay, then hit save. We need to make sure that this is our line in devices. So this is where the MIDI comes back into the sound card to be mixed with the sounds. So the music gets mixed with the sounds before outputting back to the speakers. So that isn't ticked by default, so you have to go back in or cross by default. The rest of it I'll leave pretty much the same. Just hit save and then hit exit. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to jump back into C drive and run MEM/C/P again. We've got 628 kilobytes free, so down over here you can see that. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to run memmaker again because a heap of stuff was changed there, so we'll just run that again. We'll come back and we'll check to see if it made any difference. So there's the results of memmaker, and yeah, it didn't make any difference there whatsoever. So what I'm going to do is we'll just jump out of this. I'm going to load another bit of software called SoftMPU. Now this one is needed for the MT-32. because back in the day, the MT-32 was paired with the Roland card. I haven't got that Roland card. It's very expensive and very rare, but you needed it for something called intelligent mode. And intelligent mode pretty much allowed the MT-32 to be compatible with most, or if not all, games that supported the MT-32. So because I don't have that card, some guys out there developed some code, and I can simulate that intelligent mode via an executable called SoftMPU. So I'm just going to switch to it now on the floppy, and it's a pretty easy install. I'll just find it there. So there it is there. So all I'm going to do is copy A drive to C drive. Put it directly into the root. These other files you don't really need, but I've got 2 gig, I'm not really, and they'll take up not much, but what I need to do now is I need to put that into my auto.exec.bat file. Okay, to add this in, what we need to do is now go soft. Actually, what I'll do is I'll put C drive there. C drive SoftMPU.exe, and I need to give it some direction here about my sound card. So what we're going to do is tell it that the Sound Blaster is on 220. Then we've got our, I think it's our IRQ next, which is 5 IRQ 5 space / and then we've got to put an MPU, our MIDI port, which was 330. So I'm just going to put MPU 330. So I'm just checking that. That looks fine. Yep. So I'm just going to save that. Exit that and reset that. So this should now give us SoftMPU at the bottom of the batch file that runs here. And there it is there, with the Sound Blaster detected on those ports. So that's very good. Now what I'm going to do, the SoftMPU does take up some memory, so I'm just going to run MEM/C/P again. And you'll see over here it's dropped down to 620. That's still acceptable, but I'll see if I can just jump that up a little bit more. So I'll just jump that down there. It'll say there the largest executable is 620, and normally that's okay. I'll run memmaker again and just see if it throws that into the load high, or gets it out of the conventional memory. So we'll just do that, continue. Yes, we'll come back and see what it says. So there's the results there. You can see before and after. Oh, bump the camera. 620 there. That's back over to 629 over here. So I did save a little bit of space. So I believe, and if I just do mem /C/P, we should be pretty good to go. What I might do is I might now start loading some games on, and we'll start giving them some tests. So I've just installed Hexen directly, just it was the CD install. There it is there. So after the install, we go to this, choosing our music card. So we're going to choose our music card as General MIDI. Choose sound effects, Sound Blaster 225.1, and we'll go 8, and we'll save and launch. Hopefully this should play it through the General MIDI, which is the SC-88, not the MT-32. So this is just General MIDI, not MT-32. So we're launching, and what I'll do is I'll just loosen the camera a little bit, so you can probably hear that. You can see there, if I zoom into the orange, see the little equalizer. there. So that's good. We know that the general MIDI is working. Quick game. Let's load another one for general MIDI. We'll go and grab Tseng off the shelf and load that. Okay, so we've now loaded up Tseng. So there's the game there. We'll do our sound settings. So it's already auto detected, but we'll test it anyway. So it's got it on general MIDI and the sound blaster. 7. That one works. Test music. There we go. Okay, so we're going to exit that. I'm just going to run Tseng. Once again, I'll loosen up the camera here so we can. So there we go. You can see it playing through the equalizer. I do love this music. Shall we, Jojo? Sound, a bit of a test. Might be a good time to test the joystick. So the sound and music works. Yes. Test the joystick. So move that to the upper left, lower right, center. Okay. See if this works. Oh yeah, so the joystick works. I remember muscle memory here. So beautiful. How good's that music? Can't play games all day. Let's get, well, that's 2 MIDI ones we know that work. Let's get the MT-32 cranking. So next up, I'm going to install X-Wing, the CD ROM version. There it is there. I think it's called the Collector's Edition or something like that. But I want to install this one just to test out that theory about the memory. So we should play fine on this. So we'll just go ahead and install it. And I'll show you something on here. Now you'll see at the top there, the main memory and the EMS that's required, so they're both green. We're well and truly over both of them. It says 540, but I've even had trouble 540 and just above. So the fact we've got above 600, we shouldn't have any issues with this one. So I'm just going to go ahead and install it, and then we'll come back. Okay, so we've got set the sound now after the X-Wing has done the install. So we set sound. Do custom. We're going to go advanced. Got the Roland there selected, port 330. So we've got 2 options here, general MIDI or the Roland. So we definitely want to choose the Roland. And then 330, and this is going to play through the MT-32 if this works. Let's see a message. So that works. And then the digital sound. I'll try the OR32. Detect. Yes. Enter. See if that works. There we go. So that's all working. Down into quit. We'll save that. Don't need to make a boot disk. We'll exit out of that. We won't read the README file, and then we'll give it a test. Now this music will be coming through the MT-32. That's good, we've got sound. We should get the Star Wars music. And I'll just move the camera down. You can see the MT-32 is receiving a message. I'll just turn that down a little bit. We'll just test the digital sound, so I should be able to use my joystick here. I think there's some speech up here we can test on.
Sir, our TIE interceptors have located a rebel fleet orbiting the planet Turkana.
Excellent. Prepare the attack. Move our Star Destroyers within range and launch all TIE fighter squadrons.
At once, sir.
Okay, we're going to skip through that. Make sure there's no lockups. So center joystick, top left, bottom right, middle.
Welcome to the flagship Independence.
Thank you. Let's be top aces. If I can get past this, I'm pretty sure everything will be right.
Proceed.
There we go. Pretty happy with that. It's working as it should. So the next one that has really good MT-32 support is June 2. So we're just going to go ahead and install this one. And then we'll come back and we'll set the sound and give it a test. Now I've just finished installing June 2. But June 2 has a bug in it that when you're setting the sound, or two bugs in it. One is if you've got 32 megabyte of RAM, it can cause it to lock up. There's something about it would never actually set out to recognize that much RAM before. So you may have noticed that previously at the start of the video I had 32 megabyte of RAM. I've only got 16 megabyte in there now, which is more than enough for DOS gaming. And the reason for that is because of this. The other quirk is that for sound, so if I'm just setting up the sound here, play sound from, if I pick 5, the MT-32, which is what I want to do. We click yes, use extended memory, use a mouse. You'll see the music and sound effects source is the MT-32, but there's no digitized sound. If I picked MT-32, I can't pick any digitized sound, which is a pain in the backside. I don't want to hear speech. But thankfully there is a patch. So I'm not going to save that, and I'll put the patch in the files, or in the description where to get it from. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to install this patch now. That will, if I can find it, June 2 sound patch. So I'm just going to go to A drive. Actually, probably don't even need to go to A drive. I just copy A drive to C drive, Westwood / June 2. So this is going to copy a replacement setup file and a couple of other things, and we should be right to go after that. So it's going to ask me, do I want to replace the ones that are already there? So I'm just going to go all, yes. Okay, so now if I go back to C drive, okay, and if I hit setup again, what we should find is, if I go to setup questions, we can pick the MT-32 for sound, and then we can play sound effects from a different one. So what I'll pick there is just Sound Blaster. I should go Sound Blaster Pro. Digitize samples from Sound Blaster Pro. Yes, use expanded memory. Yes, use a mouse. So there's the settings there. MT-32. Sound Blaster for sound effects and digitized, and we can then go save yes, say successful, exit setup, and hopefully this will run now with everything. And the way we can tell is at the start of June 2 there is music, but there is also speech that comes in. So let's give that a test. You see they're initializing the MT-32, and I can see the Midi lights flashing on the MT-32. See it down there. Okay, so we come back up, game's loading. So we've got sound or music. So we've got sound effects, speech, and music, which is exactly what we want.
Land of sand. Home of the spice melange. The spice controls the empire. Whoever controls Dune controls the spice. The Emperor has proposed a challenge to each of the houses.
The house that produces the most spice will control Dune. There are no set territories and no rules of engagement.
Vast armies have arrived. Now, 3 houses fight for control of Dune. The noble Atreides. The insidious Ordos. And the evil Harkonnen. Only one house will prevail. Your battle for Dune begins now.
How good's that? So, Dune works. Got both sound going, and we've also got sound effects going as well. So, let's exit out of that. What we'll do now is we'll try one more, which seems to be everyone's favourite, which is Monkey Island, or Secret of Monkey Island. So what I'll do is I'll just put that in to my A drive. Retry a bit quick. So let's go ahead and install Monkey Island, or the Secrets of Monkey Island, and then we'll come back. Okay, Monkey Island is now installed, so let's run it. To run it with the Roland, what we do is just put Monkey R. And we've got the Dialer Pirate, which I'll bring out on the other computer. So we've got the guy with the stripy hat and the monkey beard looking thing. Stripy hat guy, where is he? It's the guy with the hat. Which is that guy right there, I'm pretty sure. And the monkey with the beard, which is that one there, I think. No, it's not that one, not that one. That one. So what year is it? Montserrat. So that was hanging in Montserrat in 17. I can't read that on my other computer. 17 something. 1721. Let's see if that works. 1721. There we go. So hopefully you can hear that. I'll just take the microphone off and I'll point it at the speakers. So we definitely know it's playing through the MT-32 because I can see it, and I'll show you guys. You can see the Midi message flashing away there. It does say, oh, LucasArts Games. Okay, so I know we said that was the last one, but I think we'll do one more, hey? Let's do Space Quest 4. So we're just going to run the install for Space Quest 4. Enter. Sierra sets up its own drivers on your computer, so what we do is we will choose that one there, the MT-32. Done all that. IBM. Use a mouse. Joystick. Yes, use your memory. Yep. Okay. Are they correct? Yes. So we'll go through and install it now, because there's a couple of disks to install, and then we'll come back and we'll give it a go. Okay, so Space Quest 4 is now loaded. It should work now. This used to have a very long-winded, or just long black screen for memory for a long time, but as long as the mouse moves, we know we're right. We'll just have to wait a minute. But what you'll see, one of the cool things about the MT-32, you'll see down on the message, it says Space Quest 4, calling Roger Wilco. We do have to wait a minute. It does take a while for this game to kick in. Still waiting. Here we go. Hopefully you can hear that. I'll just turn it up a bit. And once again, if I just go down there, you can see Space Quest 4. Okay, I think that's long enough. We know that works. So that's it, guys. I hope you've enjoyed the video. You know, it was a little bit all over the shop there because this video was actually spread over about 3 or 4 days. There was a lot of mucking around, there was a lot of fiddling about, chopping and changing and reformatting and starting again. And I learned a lot of lessons along the way. So I suppose, just in summary, and some key takeaways of the build itself. When building the DOS machine, definitely go for as light a drivers as you can. The ASUS CD driver and the CT mouse are probably the two lightest drivers I can find for those. It just helps keep that conventional memory free, and once you do that, then games like Dune 2 and X-Wing and TIE Fighter, they all run really well. So another lesson for me that I learned was always make sure you check your MIDI cables and you've got them around the right way. They do have in and outs, so make sure that you get them around the right way, otherwise it won't work. To get the, I think I mentioned this in the video, to get the pass-through to work for the SC-88, so normally the MIDI would pass through from the MT-32 to the SC-88. To get the SC-88 to work, you've got to have the MT-32 on, and that's just how it is. But you don't want them playing both at the same time. They will both record or register the MIDI, but you only want one device playing. So that's when this AV switch comes in handy, to make sure you've switched to the right device as well, because if you're not getting sound, chances are you've just forgotten to switch to that right device it's coming out of. So that's it. Hopefully you've enjoyed the video. You know, I'm pretty happy with this build. I don't think I could get much better from the parts that I got in that bundle. They all seem to be fairly expensive, fairly well sought after on eBay and other people mentioning stuff to me. So I'm glad I kind of got the best of the best for my my DOS build. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and until the next one, I'll see you then.